Hello, welcome to this third devlog in a series where we're trying to silk around a virtual reality world or something. I've got a plant here. I just wanted him in the camera, but when I move him over here, oh, you can quite kind of see him. But when I put Unity there, he's disappeared. But he's still there with us, helping with the oxygen levels or something. Right. So last video. I got to the stage, which was a month ago. I've been on holiday, and I just never got round to just making making this devlog. I apologise. I kept seeing new subscribers. Thank you if you've recently subscribed or subscribed at all. But every new subscriber was like a little piece of guilt weighing down on my soul. So thank you. Enough guilt has accrued so that I'm doing something. Right. So I talked about rendering the line renderer, rendering some lines. So I think this is an important part of this mechanic, actually being able to see a line like this. I'm not too sure about the grey colour, so I can fiddle with that later on. But once you've got that line there, I don't know, it just becomes real. The mechanic makes sense visually, even though it's not doing anything different to what we saw in the last video, really. Oh, except for, I think now as you see, every time I hit the side, the silk line is cut. Just there, I've hit the ground, which illustrates how I've done that. What I've done, I was going to pause here in this monstery thing. He's not a monster, he's just an alien. So it's very prejudiced of me. He's just an alien walking around. This is his world. Here he is. His infinite world. Forgot what I was talking about. Oh yeah, when I hit the ground, then the silk line cuts, and that stops us being pulled through the terrain, which is a glitch. I've also, while I'm in game, I'll come out and show you the code very briefly, and that'll be the end of the video. Just a devlog here. So this is not a tutorial, but you can learn from the code, I guess, if that's what you're interested in. Do leave a comment if you want me to make some kind of tutorial that connects to anything I'm doing. Oh look, I'm silking up to this floating rock. I love that kind of thing. It's very science fiction. What I need to... Whoa! Oh! That was interesting. I kind of silked past it. Oh yeah, the last bug that I was talking about kind of just happened. Is that when I look down in this, remember I'm building this for a VR headset, so that you tilt this way or that way, or look down to change certain things, such as going into a different locomotive mode. So at the minute I'm in what I call jet jump, and that means every time we hit the ground, it accelerates us upwards and forwards, a bit like a kangaroo or something. So we're not silking anymore. So if I tilt left and right, there's no silking happening. What happens now when you're in a different mode, I think if you tilt left, your head left, then it toggles on like an automated locomotive thing. It means it bounces you forward if you're in jet mode, or let's look down. So that's put me in flight. So if I tilt my head left, then I'm just frozen. And now, so I'm not moving automatically forward. So now if I tilt my head right, in jet glide, it just gives us like a little booster. So this is designed, I just had in mind, if you just wanted to kind of carefully glide around something, maybe looking at something interesting in the terrain, like this floating rock, or the fact that my line renderer has left a line in the three-dimensional space here. I will show you the line renderer code, so you can. It's quite simple. I'm not very familiar. I don't do it often, drawing lines, but I'll show you how to do that briefly. And we can toggle on automatic fly again. So what this does is just slowly accelerate us forward. So my idea. This is for if you're interested in, developing your own VR locomotive systems, that kind of thing. I just wanted as many people as possible, for example, to be able to to use this or make use of this. So perhaps you don't have a controller, so whatever headset that you've got, as long as you can move your head and tilt your neck, tilt your head, look left and right, then you'll be able to have full control. Or look down to change mode. All this puts us in like a driving mode. I've called this thing like a rumble sledge. So if I tilt left again, now we can do slow drive. I kind of tilt it right to kind of gradually drive around and down. Oh, that puts us back in silk line. And so the silk line, I don't know, aiming sphere appears. And notice now that we've got the line renderer running again, that anomalous leftover silk line has disappeared. To see what happens when we land, the silk line stays there. So that's maybe something to look at. I also thought about having the idea of maybe leaving like a network or a web of places where you've been with the silk line, and then it's kind of creative. You could use the silk line to, I don't know, make something architectural. Then you could, that creates other ideas, like perhaps you would like to, I don't know, silk line an Eiffel Tower kind of thing, and then jump off, and then another button you could press to kind of like solidify and save that structure. I don't know. But there you go. So so this bug meant that when I was looking down, going to a different mode like walking, silk mode would still be on. So I've now cured that. I've sorted that bug out. Our poor old friend, our alien friend, is stuck over there. So maybe we should look into his navigation and things in another devlog if you're interested in that. Right, so let's come out of the game now, and I need to. I've shut down my IDE. Refined loco. I want. What am I using now? Visual Studio Code. Oh, and I've disappeared. So I'm using this because Mono Developer is no longer included in the latest versions of Unity. I had a little bit of trouble getting autocomplete and things like that in IntelliSense, I think they call it, sorted, but I've got it working now. So if I can do it, I'm sure you can do it. Some kind of package is downloading. I don't know what's going on. I'll just let that happen. Right. So, right. While I really need to be in the silking script. And let's see if I can do the next few things in about 3 minutes. So 4 minutes past 1, I'll stop. Right, here we go. So the terrain has been tagged with ground, and that means that, sorry, I haven't looked at this code for ages. I don't know where stuff is, so I'm relying on my past selves commenting. So I've got a bool for grounded. So if I hit the ground, that is toggled. It's public, so that let's go and open that up, so that my silking script can access that boolean, that state of hitting the ground or not, and then basically if it detects that boolean has changed to true, like you are grounded, then it cuts the silk line. Let's just see if I can just see that logic working. Check silking. So what's happening here? Have we arrived at the anchor point? So that's where we've stuck the silk line to a floating rock, for example, or something like that. Here's some grounded. If my sloco, so this is your subject's locomotive script, grounded, so that's that boolean. So if you are grounded and enough time has passed, so it's such that if you're standing on the ground and silking, then it will be true that you're grounded. So it waits for half a second, it looks like, until it will cut the silk. That makes sense, and then cut silk. Okay, If you're actually silking, so that means you've thrown out the silk line and then you're traveling towards it. So here we're doing the translation, the trajectory and things we talked about in previous videos, devlogs. Silk speed times delta time plus acceleration. If you're going too fast, then limit our speed. Oh yes, and here's the line rendering. So we've got a line renderer. I'll show you that moment. We briefly saw it on the component. So what we do, we set position. So that sets a position, as it says here, of the vertex. That's like the point along the line in 3D space. So it's my subject's position plus 2 meters. So that's why it appears above our head. And then we set another position, and we fix that position to the anchor point, so where we've thrown the silk line to. So drawing a line 2 meters above the subject's head to the anchor point. So it's like we've got like a zip line above us. And so these numbers just relate to indices within an array. So what the silk line renderer does, it just draws a line between a load of points or vertices. Singular of a vertices is a vertex, a corner, that you set here with set position. Hopefully I made that fairly clear. So I've only got 2 vertices, and we start counting from 0, being computer scientists, 0, and 1 is our second vertex. So if we're not silking, then my line enabled equals false. So I think the fact that, do you remember that bug that we left, if we changed mode, say we're silking and flying past a floating space rock, and then I look down, which enables me to go to walk mode, for example, then silking stops, or the silk line is cut, something like this, but this logic is not triggered. So my line, or this statement, is not triggered. My line enabled equals false. That never happens, so we just leave the line there. Right. This is what cut silk looks like. Silking equals false. My subject get component, rigid body, use gravity equals true. Silk speed equals 0. Okay. There we go. Right, I think I've included everything that I kind of promised in the second devlog. This will probably be the last devlog in this series, certainly for a while, unless anyone requests. I'll try and meet your requests in the comments, etc. But what I'll do is, I don't know when, but I kind of want to obviously continue with this project privately. It's basically an infinitely procedurally generated world, and I had ideas of like been a kind of like museum to ideas and things that you could just go and explore, and the fun was just different locomotive modes that you can use with just your head tilting around. So what I've got to be careful with is our necks are quite sensitive and fragile, so it's making sure that your user isn't too frequently having to move their head, so getting some kind of strain injury. But also not being too sensitive, so just like little movements of your head. You don't want to accidentally trigger things going on that you hadn't intended, so it's getting that balance right. And I think I'm a pretty good test subject. I'm very, very small, and I'm not very robust, and I haven't got any neck strain or anything from it, so there we go. Right, thank you very much for watching. Put any ideas or requests in the comments, and I'll try and help you out. Goodbye, see you next time.